there's something like, this is maybe what I'm seeing, is that there's a mystery even in the death of Christianity, almost as if it was something that was meant to happen. Christ seemed to have pointed us to that and prepared us for that. And it's almost as if, just as Christ dying planted a seed, a cosmic seed that would grow into Christendom. It's almost as if Christianity dying is doing something similar, because as Christianity is dying, there's this distance which is created, and all of a sudden we can see the Christian story appear in places we couldn't see it before. I kind of joke about every single Hollywood movie is basically all these Hollywood action movies has a resurrection scene. You need a resurrection scene, or else you're not going to make, more than 100 million with your movie. And so, it's a Christian story. Or even the idea of self-sacrifice. All of a sudden, we thought self-sacrifice was an obvious trope, but it's not. Look at ancient Greek myth. You barely find that trope. There's maybe little hints of it, but it's not a major story. Whereas the notion that the hero sacrifices himself for others is a Christian story. So as Christianity retreats, we can see it there, and we can see how it's actually going to become more fragile as we retreat from that.
Yeah, I think David Bentley Hart said something about that in one of his pieces that I read recently, that as Christendom dies back, you can see Christ more clearly, which I think is a good way of putting it, because also a lot of Christendom did not actually represent Christ at all. A lot of it actually became so tied up with power that it became a culture, which wasn't necessarily following the teachings of Christ at all. So once that's gone, we can stand up and go, okay, well, yeah, now we can see what the teachings are, so we can decide if we want to follow them or not. And we can also see the story more clearly, perhaps, when it doesn't. Well, yeah, like you say, when we've lost it, when we've lost the structures that were built around that story, however imperfectly, we can see the story, but we can also start to feel very lost, having lost it, which might be a reason why so many people are suddenly, including me, finding themselves brought into Christianity. Not for cultural reasons. It's not a political decision or anything like that. But something's calling, something's going on, because it isn't possible. It isn't possible to live for very long without that sacred heart at the heart of your culture, and at the heart of you as well. It's not. I think you have the luxury of rejecting religion if you're in a culture which kind of holds it up. But if you're in a culture that has nothing, if you're in a culture that has replaced any sense of the divine, any sense of the sacred, with basically consumerism and individualism, then rejecting religion is suddenly not a fun piece of rebellion anymore. It's like, oh shit, I think I've just realized what that thing was for that we destroyed.
Yeah, it's funny because the atheists promised us a replacement, right? They promised us some great cultural replacement for the Christian story and these great acts of participation in this, but that's not what we got. What we got is porn and fast food.